If you're an ice hockey fan of any age, you've probably heard of Patty Ice, or the Little General. Though you might know him, that's because the Little General is better known as Pat LaFontaine, who happens to be amongst the greatest goal scorers of all time. 1 Bill Masterson Memorial Trophy, 2 Olympics, and a Lester Patrick Trophy to end his career. But just how good was he? This is the story of a young man who dominated the NHL in 3 different teams. Chapter 1: Pat's Early Life. Just like every start to a story, the first time that Pat LaFontaine tried to skate, it was a scene of pure frustration and determination. Born on February the 22nd, 1965 in Missouri, the young Pat had always dreamt of becoming a professional ice hockey player. At just 3 years old, he cried every time he tumbled on his double runners. While the other children glided effortlessly across the ice, Pat fell again and again as he struggled to win his friends. In the St. Louis area, ice rinks were not the year-round havens they are today, especially not half a century ago. But LaFontaine's neighborhood rink was a seasonal affair, open to the winter's cold. After that initial heartbreaking attempt, Pat's dreams of skating were put on hold, waiting for the ideal moment after winter. And when winter finally returned, young Pat eagerly stepped onto the ice again, only to meet the same fate. Another series of falls, another round of tears. But this time, something extraordinary happened, something that would change the course of Pat LaFontaine's life forever. In a moment that seemed ordinary but would prove to be extraordinary, John LaFontaine, Pat's father, took him by the hand. With a bold grip and a loving heart, he flung Pat forward across the ice, and then miraculously Pat stayed upright. He remained vertical and for the first time experienced the rush of skating, the feeling of gliding across the ice. That moment, a simple action between father and son, had ignited a spark in Pat. It was the beginning of a journey that would see him rise from a determined young boy on an outdoor rink to one of the greatest players in the history of professional hockey. As young Pat and his older brother John fell headlong into their obsession with hockey, their father became their biggest supporter, providing them with every opportunity to pursue their passion. In Kirkwood, Missouri, where the LaFontaines lived, a neighbor worked for the manager of the local outdoor rink, and every weekend at the crack of dawn, the families would gather for pickup hockey games in the cold morning air. When Pat was 7 years old, the LaFontaines made a big move back to Michigan. This relocation would be the biggest break for Pat's hockey development, allowing him to play in his brother's age group. However, the true arena of Pat's development lies on the frozen expanse of Williams Lake, right in their backyard. And it wouldn't be long before their father installed floodlights and a pump system to flood the backyard rink. By the time that Pat had hit teenage years, it became evident that he possessed extraordinary talent, and despite his smaller stature, he'd become the most feared youth player in the region, a dynamic force that drew the awe of all those who watched him play. At just 16, he joined the Detroit CompuWare Midget Club, a team that would go down in history as one of the most formidable ever assembled. The 1981 and 82 season was nothing short of spectacular, with John LaFontaine assisting head coach Rial Turcotte. The CompuWare squad, featuring 7 future NHL draft picks, racked up a jaw-dropping 80-2 record. Pat LaFontaine was at the center of this dominance, amassing an astonishing 175 goals and 149 assists over 79 games. Fueled by the same drive that had pushed his father to leave his hometown for St. Louis, Pat then took his game to the next level, choosing to skate for Verdun in the QMJHL. That's where he would become the best collegiate player ever. Chapter 2: The Big Career. LaFontaine had thrived at Verdun, notching up 104 goals and 130 assists in just 70 regular season games. He shattered records that were held by legends like Guy Lafleur and Mike Bossy, setting a new benchmark with points in 43 consecutive games and breaking Bossy's rookie goal record and Chris Valentine's rookie points record. But he didn't stop there. In the postseason, he continued his relentless pursuit of excellence, adding 11 goals and 24 assists in 15 games. His performance would help Verdun to secure the QMJHL title, and though the team didn't make it to the Memorial Cup, LaFontaine earned the Guy Lafleur Trophy as the tournament's MVP. The year 1983 came with yet another milestone, as Pat was drafted number 3 overall by the team that he had once needed a map to find. As a young player, LaFontaine was a prodigy, showing off in junior leagues and quickly catching the eyes of scouts with his remarkable talent. Yet, instead of turning pro immediately, he chose to represent Team USA at the 1984 Olympics in Sarajevo. The timing was perfect, or so it seemed. The Islanders were on the brink of making history, entering the Stanley Cup Finals yet again, and aiming for an unprecedented 5th consecutive championship. But fate had other plans. Facing the formidable Edmonton Oilers, the Islanders fell in a heart-wrenching series, losing in 5 games. The dynasty was over, but LaFontaine's performance was nothing short of spectacular. Despite the Americans finishing 7th, he made his mark with 5 goals and 3 assists in just 3 games, showcasing his potential on the world stage. As a rookie, he skated with the confidence of a professional player, leaving no doubt that he was destined for greatness. LaFontaine's second NHL game was nothing short of sensational. Under the bright lights of Maple Leaf Gardens and broadcast on the iconic hockey night in Canada, LaFontaine delivered a performance that would become the stuff of legends. Facing his father's beloved Toronto Maple Leafs, the rookie player unleashed a hat trick and added 2 assists in a staggering 11-6 victory for the Islanders. In a fiery second-period exchange, LaFontaine earned his first NHL penalty. As the Islanders went ahead 5-3, they exploded for 6 more goals in the next 15 minutes. And over the next 8 years with the Islanders, LaFontaine's journey was a roller coaster of highs and lows. Despite battling a shoulder injury that affected his early seasons, he emerged as a key player. Pat was a very good goal scorer. He would make great plays, he would battle, and end up getting the job done no matter what. One of his most memorable moments came in the 1987 Patrick Division semifinals, where he scored a legendary goal in the 4th overtime of Game 7, sealing the Islanders' victory over the Washington Capitals. However, a contract dispute in October of 1991 led to a major change in LaFontaine's career, as he was then traded to the Buffalo Sabres. With the Sabres, LaFontaine continued to perform at the top of his game. Despite missing games due to a holdout and a broken jaw, he lit up the ice with 46 goals and 47 assists in just 57 games that season. In 1992 and 93, acting as captain and flanked by stars like Alexander Mogilny and Dave Andreychuk, LaFontaine grabbed 148 points, a record that still stands as Buffalo's highest single-season total. However, it was at that point that LaFontaine experienced the biggest tragedy in his career. Chapter 3: The Fall and Rise of LaFontaine. A knee injury sustained in the 1993 playoffs plagued LaFontaine throughout the following season, forcing him to end his 93-94 campaign after only 16 games. During his recovery, he found purpose in visiting children at Roswell Park Cancer Institute and Women and Children's Hospital. While his intent was to lift up the spirits of these young patients, it would be their courage that had inspired him. LaFontaine got back into the game, and it was only a matter of time before he found himself in a far worse injury. In October of 1998, Pittsburgh Penguins defenseman Francois Leroux delivered a crushing hit that sent LaFontaine's helmet flying and left his head exposed. As LaFontaine crashed onto the ice, he would be left unconscious for several agonizing minutes. Despite the severity of the injury, he hastened his return as he got back to the game and played 7 more. However, his condition would only worsen, prompting the Sabres coach Ted Nolan to pull him from the lineup. After that, he would be sent to the Mayo Clinic for neurological evaluation, and accompanied by his wife and his father, who had recently been diagnosed with prostate cancer, LaFontaine was facing an entirely different new reality. He was struggling with a lot of symptoms, including dizziness, migraine headaches, depression, nausea, and mood swings. The concussion from the Leroux hit had far-reaching consequences, and despite being cleared by renowned neurologist Dr. James Kelly to return to play, the Sabres front office decided to keep him sidelined before trading him to the New York Rangers in exchange for a second-round draft pick. With the Rangers, LaFontaine continued to shine, leading the team with 23 goals through 67 games. However, a wild collision with line-mate Mike Keane inflicted yet another brain injury, adding to the adversity of his career. Chapter 4: The New Beginning. Throughout his final years in the NHL, Pat LaFontaine's career was affected by a relentless pattern of head injuries. He faced 6 diagnosed concussions over the last 9 years of his career. In his final season with the New York Rangers, LaFontaine reached the peak of achievement, leading the team in goals while achieving a career milestone of 1,000 NHL points. The joy of his accomplishment, however, would be overshadowed by uncertainty. He suspected that he had endured 4 or 5 additional concussions that had gone undiagnosed. A devastating final concussion then struck in 1998, ending his season and forcing him into premature retirement. Yet the end of LaFontaine's on-ice career marked only the beginning of a new chapter, one where his impact would extend far beyond the rink. After his retirement, LaFontaine channeled his relentless spirit into a different kind of fight, one that had aimed to bring light into the lives of those who were facing the darkest of battles. In 1997, LaFontaine founded the Companions in Courage Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to creating interactive playrooms in children's hospitals. These playrooms were designed to offer normalcy and joy to young patients who were grappling with serious illness. Meanwhile, his efforts did not go unnoticed. In 2003, LaFontaine would be honored with the International Humanitarian Award from the Gift of Life Foundation, recognizing his contributions to improving the lives of children and families in need. And beyond his charitable works, LaFontaine's post-retirement journey would be marked with continued success and influence. He ventured into entrepreneurship, sports management, and motivational speaking, where his business and leadership skills were well portrayed. He even established the Williams Lake Cup, an annual hockey tournament named in honor of the cherished rink that his father had maintained for his children back in Michigan. It was more than a mere competition. It was a heartfelt homage to a place where Pat's dreams had taken shape. The tournament was a celebration of the game and the people who had loved it. In fact, the 3-on-3 event saw a mixture of participants including plumbers, doctors, lawyers, and electricians skating side by side with former NHL legends. Icons like Bob Nystrom, Clark Gillies, Brendan Shanahan, Glenn Anderson, and Benoit Hogue had made it to the event. Microsoft brought in corporate teams, while Iron Man legend Graham Fraser and actor Dennis Leary led teams from Lake Placid and Boston. And despite the star-studded lineup, the tournament was governed with 3 simple rules: no slap shots, no checking, and no crying. Through this annual event, LaFontaine had honored his father's legacy and the sport that had defined him. At the ending of his career, he had the Bill Masterson Memorial Trophy, the Lester Patrick Trophy, and 5 NHL All-Star Game selection appearances. In addition, he also had the NHL First Team All-Star twice, the NHL Second Team All-Star, and the QMJHL awards in his junior career. His leadership across multiple victories reinforces the argument that he may indeed be one of the best hockey players in history. But what do you think? Is Pat LaFontaine the greatest player in modern-day history? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. And also, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more great videos like this one in the future. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.